Okay, let's dive into this. We're talking about relationships today, and more specifically, we're talking about those same old fights. The ones that make you feel like you're stuck on a painful merry-go-round with the person you love most.
You know exactly the one I'm talking about, right? It's that fight about the dishes that's never really about the dishes. Or the argument about being 5 minutes late that somehow blows up into this massive, all too familiar battle. It's just exhausting. It feels like you're reading lines from a script you never even signed up for. Well, it turns out you pretty much are. Therapists have a name for this hidden pattern, and they call it the waltz of pain. It's this invisible choreography where your moves and your partner's moves are so predictable, you end up stepping on each other's toes in the exact same way every single time. The crazy part is, you can't even see the steps you're following. But what if you could? What if you could suddenly get a bird's eye view of the entire dance floor? Well, that's the big promise behind a new AI-powered tool called the Empathy Quiz. It claims it can map out your entire hidden emotional dance in less time than it takes to brew a pot of coffee.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. Great, another relationship quiz. But this is designed to be totally different. It's not about trying to cram you into a neat little box or slap a simple label on you. Think about it this way. A typical quiz, like the love languages, gives you a label. It tells you you're a words of affirmation person. That's a static trait. Empathy, on the other hand, gives you a map. It shows you the dynamic, moment-to-moment process of what happens between you and your partner. It reveals the why behind your fights. So it's not a label, it's a living, breathing map of your connection. And the speed here is kind of mind-blowing. The claim is that this quiz can uncover in just 5 minutes what a couples therapist might spend several long sessions trying to map out. We're talking about your triggers, your automatic protective moves, and the deep, tender vulnerabilities that are really driving the whole show. So how on earth does it do that? Well, it takes you on this really structured journey, like an emotional deep dive that starts at the surface level of frustration and goes all the way down to the core wound. The quiz is basically built in 3 parts. First, it helps you find your North Star, that core feeling of connection you crave most. Then it maps out your personal waltz, that lightning-fast chain reaction of how you see things, how you feel, and how you react in a conflict. And finally, it very gently helps you uncover the real wound beneath it all, that deeper pain and the negative story you might be telling yourself. So let's break that waltz down, because it's really a simple but incredibly powerful 1, 2, 3 step. It starts with your perception. You suddenly see your partner as critical or distant. That triggers a reactive emotion, usually something hot like anger or frustration, and that emotion immediately leads to a protective behavior. You might lash out and criticize, or maybe you just shut down and withdraw completely. That 1, 2, 3 is the engine of the whole cycle. Now, this is where it gets kind of interesting. To make these patterns feel less, judgmental, empathy gives you a protective creature. It's this really clever way to personify your automatic reactions. So it's not some character flaw you should be ashamed of, but more like a well-intentioned friend that's just trying its best to keep you safe from perceived danger. And there are 2 main types of these creatures. First, you've got the pursuer, represented by characters named Joe or Jean. When a pursuer feels disconnection, their instinct is to reach out for connection. Then you have the withdrawer, represented by Pat or Sam. When they feel threatened, their instinct is to retreat and find safety. And listen, neither one is right or wrong. They're just 2 different survival strategies for the exact same problem. And the power of this is huge. So instead of one partner thinking, ugh, he's shutting me out again, they can start to reframe it with real curiosity, like, okay, Pat's just doing his thing. Freezing up feels safer than feeling whatever's happening right now. See how that externalizes the behavior? It suddenly makes it something you can talk about without all the blame. So once both partners take the quiz, the system can then show you how your 2 individual waltzes lock together. This is where you get the complete picture of your couple's dynamic. The most common dance by far, we're talking about 75% of couples, is the classic pursuer-withdrawer dynamic. And here's the tragic part. The pursuer, who is terrified of being abandoned, reaches for connection. But that reaching often looks and feels like criticism to the withdrawer. So the withdrawer, who is terrified of being criticized or failing, retreats to find safety. But that retreat looks like I don't care to the pursuer, which triggers their fear of abandonment even more. And you see it, right? Round and round they go. But just getting the map is only step 1.
The whole point isn't just to give you a one-time report. The quiz actually kicks off an ongoing, AI-powered coaching experience. It's designed to turn that insight into real, lasting change. It's like having a guide right in your pocket. For example, a pursuer might get an email a week later that says something like this. The AI uses their own answers to reframe their experience with so much compassion. It connects their behavior, the thing they probably feel bad about, to their deepest care and fear. It helps them shift from thinking, I'm so annoying, to, wow, I just care so, so much. And of course, the withdrawer gets a similar reframe about their partner's behavior. The AI coach gently explains that their partner's pursuit isn't an attack, it's a search. She's trying to find you. These little nudges over time lower defenses and make it feel safer for everyone to stay in the conversation instead of running away. And this is the absolute crucial insight of the entire thing. That part of you that hurts so much when you feel disconnected, that's not your weakness. It's not a flaw. It's actually the best part of you. It's the part that cares so profoundly about connection that its absence is painful. Okay, so let's bring it all home. You've got the map, you understand your steps, and you've even met your creature. How do you actually change the dance? Well, the system proposes a really clear 4-step framework to do just that. Okay, step 1, you learn to see the waltz, the cycle itself, as the real enemy, not your partner. Step 2, you start listening for the quiet music beneath the loud noise. That's the vulnerability, the fear or sadness hiding under the reactive anger. Step 3, you own your steps in the dance without blame. And finally, step 4, you practice reaching for each other from that vulnerable place, sharing the soft feelings instead of acting out the hard protective behaviors. And that leaves us with this really powerful final thought. We're so trained to see conflict as a fight to be won or a problem to be fixed. But what if we've got it all wrong? What if that painful, repeating dance isn't a sign that your relationship is failing, but is actually a treasure map pointing directly to what each of you needs most from the other? What if it's the guide?